I confessed to my best friend that I had depression. She told the school, and I got expelled for being a threat. All I asked was that she didn't tell anyone. My name is Claire, I'm 17 years old, and until a month ago, I thought I had a best friend. Until a month ago, I thought keeping something inside was what was killing me.
And I said it.
I trusted. I never imagined that would be the beginning of everything that came after. It all started in September. I had already been feeling out of myself for a while, like my feet were touching the ground, but my mind was suspended 5 meters above, floating, watching life from above. I went to class, turned in assignments, laughed when I was supposed to. I tried to act normal, but every night, when my mom closed her bedroom door, I'd crawl into the closet with a blanket, put on soft music through my headphones, and cry in silence.
I didn't know why.
I just knew I was broken inside. There wasn't some dramatic reason. No abuse, no violence, just a deep, constant sadness without reason or rest. The only person who knew a part of this was Lena, my best friend since we were 12. We started talking when we ended up in the same art club. She was charismatic, outgoing, with a high-pitched, cheerful voice that filled every space. I was the shadow, always behind someone, always trying to be useful. And Lena liked that. I didn't overshadow her. I was there when she needed someone to listen. At first, I thought our friendship was mutual. But over the years, I realized that sometimes I was more her reflection than her friend. Still, she was the closest thing I had to a sister. One night, while we were doing homework in my room, my head just couldn't take it anymore. I was exhausted, empty, as if there were only fog and heartbeats inside me. She was talking about some guy from school, laughing and complaining, when she suddenly looked at me seriously. "Claire, you're pale. Are you okay?" I swallowed hard, and my voice came out broken, like saying it would shatter my chest.
No.
I haven't felt okay in months. She went silent. "Is it your parents? Are you sick?" I shook my head.
And I said it.
The sentence I should never have said. "I think I have depression." Lena stayed quiet. Then she hugged me tightly and said she was there for me, that I should trust her, that this doesn't define who you are. I cried. I cried like a little girl. For the first time in weeks, I cried in front of someone, and I felt better, like saying that cursed word had taken a weight off my chest. 2 days passed. Everything seemed the same, but it wasn't anymore. Lena started looking at me differently. She spoke more softly to me, like I was fragile, corrected me more often, laughed less with me. And then she stopped texting me at night. I tried not to overthink it. I thought, she's busy. She has other friends. Everything's fine. Until the following Wednesday, in science class, I saw her whisper something to Juliet, the queen of rumors at school, and they both looked at me with pity and fear. That was the first stab. Friday was the second. They called me to the principal's office. Nothing strange, I thought. Maybe something about my literature club registration. But when I walked in, the principal's face, Mrs. Abrams, wasn't what I expected. She looked serious, too serious. And in the room was also the school counselor, Mrs. Davis. They invited me to sit down.
My mouth was dry.
The principal began speaking. "Claire, we've received some concern from a few students. It seems that you're dealing with some difficult emotions. We've been told you mentioned having dark thoughts." I felt like my soul was being torn out. I didn't understand. I had never said that in public. I had only told Lena. I'm going through something," I said, trembling. But I never said I was going to hurt myself. Just that I haven't been feeling well lately. The counselor leaned toward me. "Claire, you're not in trouble. But we want to make sure the school environment is safe for everyone. And that you are okay too." Safe for everyone. Was I a threat now? They explained that, due to protocol, I had to suspend my school activities for 2 weeks while they assessed my emotional state, that I couldn't attend classes or be on campus. Preventive suspension, they called it. I called it betrayal. I walked out of that office breathless, directionless. I couldn't believe it. My only confession, my only release, had been turned into a weapon against me. That afternoon, I didn't go home. I walked. I cried. I didn't answer any messages. Not my mom's. Not anyone's. When I got to my room, I felt a huge wave of nausea. A mix of shame, helplessness, and rage. And there was my phone. And a new message. From Lena. It simply said, "I did it for your own good. Don't be mad." For my own good, destroying my privacy, labeling me as a risk, pushing everyone away from me, and then asking me not to be mad. That night, I cried again, but not out of sadness. I cried out of fury. I cried because I felt invisible, exposed, humiliated. And then I started writing this, because if they already took away my voice at school, if they already stole the only friendship I thought was real. I won't let them take my story too. The following week, someone taped an anonymous sheet in the girls' bathroom. It said, "Watch out for the depressed girl. She could explode at any moment. I'm not dangerous. I'm just sad." When I saw that sheet in the bathroom, my first impulse was to rip it down. And I did. I tore it down. I ripped it up. I stuffed it into my backpack. But as I did it, someone else walked in. I didn't see their face. I just heard them stop and then walk out again, without saying a word. That was the first time I felt afraid. Not the kind of fear you feel watching a horror movie. Not the fear of walking alone at night. It was a different kind of fear. A social fear. The fear of being marked. As if I, Claire, had become a warning sign. When I got back home, my mom already knew about the preventive suspension. The school had told her, of course, but in a very polite, very corporate way. "We are taking measures to help Claire prioritize her mental health." But Mom didn't get it. She's practical, not emotional. "Are you sick?" she asked bluntly. "I don't know." She frowned. "Then why are they sending you home like you did something wrong?" I didn't know what to say. I just shrugged. I had no words. And Mom didn't ask anything else. She just nodded, as if that were a good enough answer, and went back to what she was doing. Over the next few days, I didn't get a single message. No one asked how I was doing. Not the study group, not the literature club, not even Lena. The only thing that came was a story on Instagram where she was smiling with Juliet, with a huge pizza between them. Girls' night, the ones who are actually sane. She didn't say it directly, but I knew it was meant for me. I knew it was a joke at my expense. My hands trembled, and for a second I wanted to reply, but what for? Everyone had already chosen their version of the story. On the 6th day, I got a call from the school. "Mrs. Davis, the counselor. Claire, we want to give you the opportunity to attend a reintegration meeting. But you'll need to come with an adult." Mom didn't want to go. "If you're going to have problems because of your emotions, deal with them yourself." "I don't have time for this stuff," she said while making coffee. So I asked my Aunt Rachel. She understood me a bit more. She had gone through postpartum depression years ago and knew this wasn't a joke. On the day of the meeting, I wore my best blouse. I did my hair carefully. I wanted to look functional, normal, but when I walked into the office, I felt like I was guilty of a crime. There were 3 people: the principal, the counselor, and the behavior advisor. They spoke to me like I was a fragile box about to shatter. "Claire, we want to make sure you're stable before reintegrating you into the school environment. Have you had any intrusive thoughts? Do you feel capable of being around your classmates without creating discomfort? Are you aware of your emotional impact in the classroom?" I didn't know whether to cry or scream. My emotional impact. Is that what I was now? A risk, a contagion, a rumor with legs. My Aunt Rachel stepped in. "Are you going to let her come back or not?" Silence. Finally, they said yes, under certain conditions. 1. Attend a weekly meeting with a counselor. 2. Don't talk about emotional topics with other students. 3. Be constantly evaluated for signs of concerning behavior. I felt like they were letting me back in the way you let back a dog that bit someone. Marked. Watched. Silenced. My first day back was worse than I imagined. When I walked into the hallway, the stares pierced me like needles. Some stepped aside. Others whispered. A group even laughed quietly. "That's the crazy one," I managed to hear. And Lena, she looked at me from her group. She didn't come over. She didn't say a word, but she looked at me with that mix of pity and arrogance that hurts more than an insult. And I understood I had no one anymore. The literature teacher tried to pretend everything was normal. "Claire, so good to have you back." But her smile was so forced it felt like she was greeting a ghost. And when I sat down, 2 classmates changed seats. They left me alone, as if sadness were contagious, as if sitting near me would drag them down too. At lunch, I sat at the farthest corner of the cafeteria. I took out my food. I didn't eat. I just stared at it, thinking about how, just a few weeks ago, everything was different. I was quiet, yes, but I had a group. I had Lena. I had presence. Now, I was invisible, but also feared. A cruel combination. That night, when I got home, I locked myself in the bathroom and screamed into a towel so I wouldn't wake my mom. I screamed until I lost my voice. And then, I looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't recognize the girl staring back. She had dark circles under her eyes, dry lips, lifeless eyes. And suddenly, I understood something that hurt more than anything else. I didn't want to go back to school, to that world, to that punishment disguised as help. But I had no choice. I couldn't switch schools. I couldn't leave home. I couldn't escape. And that was the hardest part, knowing I was trapped. The following week, during a session with a counselor, she asked me, "How are you feeling, Claire?" And I said what I knew she wanted to hear.
Good.
Better. She smiled. That's what we need to hear to help you move forward. And that's when I understood that if I wanted to survive, I had to pretend. Pretend I was okay. Pretend it didn't hurt. Pretend I hadn't been betrayed. Pretend I wasn't being extinguished from the inside. That Friday, while walking through the empty hallway after classes, I saw someone had written something on my locker with permanent marker. It said, "If you're going to hurt yourself, do it off campus." And that's when I knew this wasn't just bullying. It was violence disguised as concern. I read those words on my locker at least 5 times before I could react. At first, I froze. Breathing became hard. I felt something hot spill through my chest, like an invisible liquid drowning me from the inside. Then I stepped back as if it were something toxic. As if the words could physically hurt me, and in a way they did. It was a sentence, a scream, a trap, a threat disguised as a dark joke. The cruelest part was that no one cleaned it. It stayed there for 3 days, until, without saying a word, a janitor sprayed over it with gray paint. Not the counselor, not the principal, not the teachers asked about it. I didn't say anything either.
I learned not to.
Speaking only made things worse. Speaking meant exposing myself. Speaking meant letting the harm multiply. The following week, something happened that broke me completely.
It was Tuesday.
Art class. The teacher asked us to work in pairs on an emotion collage. No one came to me. Literally, no one. I stood in the middle of the room while the rest of the group paired up, without even looking at me. I felt transparent. Not just ignored. Non-existent. The teacher noticed I was alone. And she said, "Does anyone want to work with Claire?" Silence. A silence so heavy it hurt my ears. Then a voice said, "I'd rather work alone, thanks." It was Lena. She didn't even look at me. She just kept cutting her paper with a dry, haughty smile. My best friend. My former confidant. My traitor. That night, I didn't have dinner. I didn't speak. I locked myself in my room and stared at the ceiling for hours. I didn't cry. I had no tears left. I just stayed still, trying to remember what human warmth felt like. Shared laughter. Connection. I couldn't. It was like I had been erased. And the worst part was, they were enjoying it. In the class WhatsApp group, someone changed the name of the chat to "Everyone except Claire," smiley face. Screenshot included. It came to me by mistake from another group I was still in. I left immediately, and I deleted every school contact from my phone. I didn't want to see anything else. I didn't want to know anything else. One day, Aunt Rachel called me. "How are you doing, my girl?"
Elite.
I told her I was better, that people weren't talking as much anymore. But she didn't believe me. "Claire, I know you. You can't fool me." Silence. "What's going on?" I told her about the locker. The group. Lena. But I told it like I was talking about someone else.
Like it wasn't me.
Then she said something I'll never forget. "They're killing you while you're still alive, Claire. And if you don't do something for yourself, no one else will." After that call, I decided to write. Not on social media. Not for others.
For me.
I started a journal. A black notebook where I poured everything I couldn't say out loud. I called it "The Things I Keep Quiet." In it, I wrote about the physical pain of loneliness, about how my stomach ached every time I went to school, about how I couldn't look anyone in the eye without feeling judged, and about how Lena, the one who swore lifelong loyalty, was the one who drove in the first dagger. One Friday, the literature teacher asked us to write an imaginary letter to someone who had once let us down. My hand trembled. I wrote. I couldn't stop. I didn't name names, but I spoke of betrayal, of a broken friendship, of a wound that reopened every morning. The teacher called me at the end of class. "Claire, your letter was powerful, but I think you need to talk." I shook my head. I didn't want more counseling. I didn't want more force sessions. I just wanted someone to believe me without trying to fix me. That afternoon, Lena waited for me outside school.
I thought she was going to talk to me.
Instead, she just walked over with her group, looked me up and down, and said in a low voice, "You're still just as pathetic." And then she laughed. They all laughed. They bumped into me with their shoulders. I didn't fall,
but something inside me did.
That night, I opened the notebook and wrote, "They're killing me in small doses. I don't bleed, but I'm bleeding out. I don't scream, but I have no voice left. They don't understand me. They don't hear me. They don't see me, and still, I'm alive." And that's what bothers them the most. The next day, I didn't go to school, nor the one after. I spent 3 days locked in my room. I turned off my phone, disconnected from the world. Mom thought I was sick. She didn't ask much. I just wanted to stop. Stop pretending. Stop enduring. Stop being strong just because others didn't know how to deal with me. And then, something strange happened. A letter. Not a mysterious letter. Not anonymous. It was from Juliet. A girl from class. We barely ever talked. She left it on the kitchen table. At first, I didn't want to read it, but curiosity won. "I know I'm not your friend, But what they're doing to you is cruel. I was excluded once too. Not for the same reason, but they silenced me too. If you ever need to talk, I'm here. Really? You're not alone. It was brief.
Honest. Real.
It didn't promise to save me. It just offered a hand. And for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like a ghost. That night, I opened the window, not to do anything drastic, just to breathe air that wasn't poisoned by school. I looked at the sky, dark, but full of points of light, and I understood something small, but powerful. There was still space for me. Maybe not in that school, maybe not with those people, but somewhere. There was a place where I wasn't a stigma, where I wasn't seen as a danger, just as a person, a broken girl but alive. The following Monday, I decided to go to school one last time. I walked into the classroom,
Sat down.
waited, and when the teacher asked us to read our letters, I stood up, took mine out, and read it aloud, each word trembling in the air. My name is Claire, and I'm not crazy. I'm sad. I'm hurt. And you're not the cure. You are the disease. And as I lowered the paper, I saw Lena slowly stand up, her eyes wide, and without saying a word, she walked out of the classroom. After I read that letter in class, there was an uncomfortable silence, thick like smoke. Some lowered their heads. Others pretended to write. But the truth is, no one contradicted me. No one stood up to say I was lying. No one tried to defend the indefensible. No one said anything, not even the teacher. I left the classroom without waiting for instructions. I didn't go back to class, nor to the office. I didn't even pick up my things from the locker. I just left. I crossed the courtyard as if I were walking through a minefield, knowing there was no turning back. And when I reached the entrance gate, I ran into the principal. She stopped me with her hand. Claire, I need to talk to you. I held her gaze. There was something different in me that day. A bitter calm, like someone who has already lost everything and stopped being afraid.
No.
You needed to talk to me a long time ago. And I kept walking. I didn't look back. That afternoon, I locked myself in the house. My mom tried to ask me, but I just said, I left. I wasn't expelled. I left. And for the first time, she didn't get angry. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She just hugged me. An awkward hug, full of words she never knew how to say, but that in that moment were enough. The following days were strange, free, but also empty. Going from a hostile environment to none at all doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like limbo. I looked at my uniform hanging there and felt rage, not because I left school, but because of what they stole from me. My dignity, my voice, my innocence in human relationships. But I wasn't going to remain in ruins. So I started writing more. I went back to filling up my black notebook, not just with pain, also with ideas, stories, fantasies, monologues of things I wish I'd said. Juliet would text me sometimes, brief messages. No pressure. I miss you in class. Today they read one of your texts. Everyone went silent. Lena changed seats. No one talks to her like before. Small notes that, although they didn't change what had happened, made me feel like something was shifting, that my truth hadn't been in vain. A week later, I got a message request on social media. It was from a girl at another school.
Claire.
We don't know each other, but I read something you wrote and thank you. You made me feel less alone. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but more messages came. Girls, boys, even young adults. People who were reading my texts, the ones I had started uploading anonymously, and found in them an echo of their own pain. My tragedy was becoming testimony. My voice, which no one used to hear, was starting to resonate. One Sunday, I received an email from a youth mental health organization. They had read one of my posts shared by someone else. We want to invite you to share your story. Not to re-victimize yourself, but because we need real, sincere voices. People who've been through the storm and are still standing. I didn't know what to say. Not right away.
But I cried.
I cried because for the first time, someone wanted me for who I was, not despite what I had lived through. One afternoon, I decided to visit the school. Not as a student, just to close the cycle. I stood in front of the entrance, the same gate I walked through that day. But now it was different. I was different. I was no longer the broken, hidden, silenced Claire. I was someone else. Tougher, yes. More guarded, but also more aware of my worth. I took a deep breath, and I didn't go in. I just left a folded letter in the suggestion box slot, without a signature. It simply said, sometimes the real danger isn't the one who suffers, but those who choose to ignore it. A month later, I heard that the school counselor had resigned, and that Lena was pulled out by her parents after multiple bullying complaints. None of that gave me back what I lost, but it wasn't meaningless either. It was like watching the earth shift slightly after the earthquake, not to fix what had fallen, but to show that nothing stays unpunished forever. Today, I'm somewhere else, not at a school, I study online through modules from home. It's less social, but more human. I don't have friends like before, but I have people.
Real.
Present.
Honest.
Juliet texts me every Friday.
Sometimes we talk about art.
Or music. And sometimes we just send each other silences that say more than any words ever could. I'm still dealing with the sadness. It didn't go away, but I'm no longer ashamed of it. Now, when I feel it, I write it down. I embrace it. I turn it into something of my own, not a shame others can use against me. Not long ago, I was invited to give a talk. My first time speaking in front of a full room. Heart pounding in my throat, hands trembling, but I did it. And when I stepped down from the stage, a 13-year-old girl came up to me. She hugged me without asking, and with teary eyes, she whispered, "Thank you for not giving up." Sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if Lena had never said anything. If I had kept pretending I was fine. If I had lived all my youth in silence, hiding what hurt. And I realize, what destroyed me also rebuilt me. Not in the same mold, but in a version that doesn't belong to them. A version of me, only mine. And in that silence that once devoured me, there is now space for my voice. And for many others.